What is happening, everybody? We're back. We're back. Episode number 46, Soft Dump in the Corner podcast, presented to you by North Six Sports. Whoo! You hear that? You hear that? The bells are ringing. Hockey season is back, baby. It's a beautiful October the 7th as we record, day of hockey schedule starting. And we do have a game on early today, Blackhawks versus the Penguins, I believe. Is it the Penguins? I can't remember if it's the Penguins, but I mean, hey, we're back. Florida Panthers, excuse me, not the Penguins. But as I said, folks, big start to the season, lots to talk about as we kind of dwindle down into the end of preseason. We had quite a bit of news and notes from around the league that we will be able to get to here, but quick playoff recap here. As we know, it's a tough one for the boys in blue. The Oilers had a tough loss again there. Don't want to get too much into that. I think we did an end of season show on that one, but it's a new season. Season is upon us, and you Leaf fans out there, I know it's your year. It's going to be your year. It's got to be. And we all thought that Mr. McDavid was going to find his way over to you, and that didn't happen. So why don't we just dig into that real quick? Did the Oilers just shake up the NHL signing that 2 years at $12.5 million? Very, very great team friendly deal, very cap friendly deal for Stan Bowman and the Oilers organization. Just a tremendous job all around. But I got to think that this one here was more on McDavid than that was on the Oilers. I don't think that they sat there and grinded him down to say, hey, man, we really need you to take X amount. I think that was him sitting here saying, you know what, I'm comfortable taking this money, but I want to win. And that $6-7 million extra per year that I could probably get signing a 6, 7, 8 some odd year $1 million deal, getting me $18-19 million. I think he sat back and said, listen, I know that if I don't win a Stanley Cup in my hockey career, that is just simply not going to put me up there with the greats. And the way that he takes, carries himself, presents himself, I know, I don't know, but I would like to certainly think that that guy wants to be recognized as one of the all-time greats. And there's a lot of good players out there that just don't have that ring. And I hate to break it to you, but when it goes down to the all-time greats and the Mount Rushmores and the GOAT debates, rings matter, cups matter. And Connor McDavid is one of those players that truly does get this. And he understands that if he does not win a cup in Edmonton or not, if he doesn't win a cup, that is an absolute blemish on his career, but more importantly, a blemish on his legacy. Players like that win championships, and sometimes they need to sacrifice the financial side. Sometimes they need to put their ego aside and do what's best for the team and take what we call the Sidney Crosby deal, the 8.7 for basically 20 years. Well, could Sid made more money? Sure. Do you think Sid would have made or won 3 cups making more than 8.7? Not likely. Albeit, when Sid signed that contract, 8.7, the first year of that deal, if I recall correctly, I believe he was 13.5%, maybe 13%, but call it 13.5% of that cap space. That adds up, right? McDavid's coming in at 13% this year. And of course, the next 2 seasons, he will then, therefore, I'm assuming the cap goes up as we should, be less and less. No one's going to come out and be, I'm sure everyone will be shocked if he signs again after, but what happens if he wants to come out and sign next season again, another 2-year deal extension, come in at 17, 18, knowing the cap's already going to be up? We'll see. But hey, let's venture out. Let's jump ahead and look at a couple different things. A lot of really cool stories to watch this season. I still want to get ahead into upcoming player extensions and who we think is going to possibly take the reins. Who's going to challenge that $17 million deal that Kirill Kaprizov signed? Got to think that it's going to start happening soon. That great debate of $10 million players don't win Stanley Cups. I think it's going to come to an end just because it has to take its course. You're going to have that happen. But Bobrovsky's won 2 cups now, making $10 million. I believe, technically speaking, there still is yet to be a team that has won the Stanley Cup with a player making more than $10 million. Will it happen? I'm sure it's gonna. When will it happen? I guess we'll find out. There's quite a few teams out there that are contenders that certainly don't have a $10 million player. As we've seen, there's quite a few contenders now that have those players. So time will tell with that particular sense. But I want to touch base on a few things here. So playoff recap we went over. Forget it. New season. Let's get after it right here. I want to just dial in. Of course, we can look at all 32. We're going to do that as we proceed throughout the season here. But I just wanted to touch base and just look ahead. Strictly Canadian teams, okay? We'll dial in 7 of these squads here. Just kind of have a quick in and out, subtractions, additions, and subtractions of the team. Do you think they're better? Do you think they're worse? Give a little bit of a rundown here. So why don't we start in the East, and we'll just strictly stay in, and maybe just do alphabetical order here. So if my math, 1, 2, 3, we'll start on Montreal. So Montreal Canadiens, they added Noah Dobson and Zach Bolduc. Tremendous deal, in my opinion, bringing in Dobson. You take a lot of the load off of Lane Hudson when you add an additional puck-moving defenseman. You also add the ability of a kid that can skate. Noah Dobson's a great skater. He's also a right-handed shot. That goes a long way. Maybe you want a different approach on your power play. Maybe you want to run both of those guys on your power play. Do a little bit more traditional 3-2, 3 forwards, 2 defense on your power play. But now maybe you just want to run a 2-unit system. You've got Lane Hudson to run power play 1. You got Noah Dobson to run power play 2. I love that. Truthfully, they should be able to move the puck out of their zone. I really think Montreal Canadiens hockey is going to be very high-flying, high-pace games this year. Very exciting to watch. They're a team to watch. I really do think they're gonna have a very good season after all the positivity and just the playoffs last year. Having a sniff, I think, goes a long way for them. So I really do like that. Like I said, on the way out, Joel Armia, Dvorak, Savard, and Heineman. So I don't think there was too much of a step back. I really don't. I do think Noah Dobson addition is a very, very good step forward for Montreal Canadiens fans. They will like him. I really do believe. The defensive play, sure, you might run the risk that he may have a cough up or two every now and then. But I think the upside and this, truthfully, the ceiling itself, it can't be denied, especially with a young up-and-coming team. He gets a fresh approach. He gets a fresh look, change of scenery, change of coaches. We've seen Marty St. Louis take some players out of the dumps and give them that confidence, and doing it quickly as well. So interested to see how they start. I do think that they're going to have a hot start to the season. A lot of momentum, a lot of kids looking to, make a statement. And speaking of which, and I will go into that here shortly, a couple players are on the brisk of making Olympic rosters. Looking at you, Nick Suzuki, with a chance to get himself a look early on in the season. And then obviously Cole Caulfield. Maybe the greatest 40 goal scorer to never score 30 goals, as we say, right? So talk about that. But moving on here, why don't we touch base on Ottawa? Very exciting here too as well, right? Big season for Ottawa. They made the playoffs. They got over that hump. They made it to the extra games, right? But did they do much? No. I think they were very overwhelmed. Toronto just simply was the better team. Line 1, 2, 3, and 4. It was a tough season, or a tough series, for Ottawa, because I just think they were in their heads. I think the Leafs knew how to play the games that would piss the Senators off. The Leafs were getting in their heads. They were out skating them, out working them. They were just the overall better team. I do think that changes a little bit this season. I really do like what they've done. They made another great addition on the blue line. That blue line is very, very sneaky good in Ottawa. Adding Jordan Spence, adding another solid right-handed shot defenseman goes a long way. It settles the group down. They had a left-handed strong group before. I think Jake Sanderson continues his dominant regression and just really takes yet another step forward into elite category this year. Of course, you have Thomas Chabot back there. But like I said, adding Jordan Spence it's just another dynamic. It really just makes that depth. It adds that layer that everybody just kind of steps where they need to be. I think it's just far more balanced. And I also too, I mean, you look at the addition of Lars Eller, possibly a third line, maybe a fourth line center guy now. Cup winner in the past, was a dynamic top six and even just, depth guy for Washington for all those years. So a guy that has won, can win, can provide, a lot of leadership and experience for that dressing room that needs that. I really like the Arthur Kaliev one there too, though. Kid that was drafted by the Kings, just couldn't find his offensive touch. I think you see this every single year. Someone goes somewhere different. They create a little bit of a better relationship with the new organization. They have that fresh look. I just think that's a fresh start good for him. I just feel like maybe if they can get some top 9 scoring out of him, potentially produce that sort of third line, possibly swing up and down the lineup if he gets hot. The kid can score. He's got a really good shot. I just think he needs to find a little bit of confidence, get himself into the dirty areas, and just kind of change his play to be able to be more effective in the dirtier, grindier areas, and just put his nose to the grindstone and just make sure he plays defensive hockey first, because he does have offensive skill. Just on an outs there from the Ottawa side of things. I really do. I think that with their losses, I got a couple here: Highmore, Crookshank, Gilbert. Not really sexy pieces in terms of what they lost. So I do think they're a little bit more well-balanced this year. You add a bit of experience of playoffs for Kachuk, for Stützle, for Sanderson, for Batherson, you name it. Go down the list. Giroux's still there too. I think they got a lot to look forward to. So that's just something to keep an eye out for them there. Of course, we go into Toronto here as well too. So a big one, we all know, Marner's gone. Okay, let's forget about that. Just move on. Forget about that. That entire Marner era is gone. You still have bona fide superstars. You still have Austin Matthews. You still have William Nylander. You have a hopefully budding superstar in Matthew Nyes. You have a lot of tremendous pieces. Your defense is extremely solid. True Living's done a really good job. He's put a lot of good pieces in play. A lot of the no bullshit type of guys. A lot of the put your face on the line type of guys. Looking at you, Chris Tanev. There's a lot of good in Toronto. They do have a very good team. I just think they're going to take a step backwards in the regular season, albeit, and I'll say this very loudly and very clearly, if the Toronto Maple Leafs take a step back in the regular season with the roster constructed as the way it is right now, presumably, maybe they make a few changes, sure. They're a little bit bigger, a little bit heavier, and I think this year they need to sort of look at okay, we're not relying on pure skill and 1 and 2 guys. Everyone needs to step up. I think the balance is a little bit better, and I think this roster is better constructed for the playoffs. All right, gonna say it right now. The Leafs might take a couple points back, 6-7 point reduction on the regular season, maybe 5-6 losses, 3-4 losses more in the regular season, but they're better off for it in the playoffs. You add guys like Nicholas Watt, proven winner, cup winner, big body, right-handed shot. Again, you're seeing these over and over. It's a common theme of players that need to be added to teams. You just need this style of player to win games. I think this is beneficial. Matias Maccelli, the Oilers killer, in my opinion. I've been saying that for years and years and years. I love this kid. Once he's healthy, if he stays healthy, he will be a dynamic player. He sees the ice really well. He's like a little water bug out there, and he just seems to do the right things at the right time. I also believe he will just find chemistry with good players. I just think he's a smart hockey player. I've watched him. He's not a big body, and he won't lay the body, but he just doesn't put up with shit, and he puts himself in the right place at the right time. And that's what you need when you're playing with superstar players. I think if he gets a chance in this top 6, might be one of his, chances early on to make a good impression. I do think he's a solid addition for that lineup. Like I said, you lose Marner. It's a lot of offense. So you kind of just have to rely on a little bit more balance, a little bit more structure, to a little bit more Berube hockey to win this year as well. Jumping into, I guess we'll just go into Winnipeg here. No, they're in the West. Forget it. Let's just go into Calgary. So Calgary's a weird one to me. A lot of potential, but just a lot of question marks. A lot of what ifs, in my opinion. The what if Jonathan Huberdeau can get back to where he was? What if Nazem Kadri doesn't perform like a top 6 player? What if Nazem Kadri just mentally checks out? We still know Nazem Kadri is a very good offensive player. He still plays with piss and vinegar, just what you need. But what if he checks out, man? That guy wants to win. He's won a cup with Colorado. He wants to win. He's had a taste of winning organizations. He's had a lot of difficult times in his organizational from an organizational perspective, from his Leaf days, and then obviously too with Calgary. I mean, he's signed a big contract. He wants to play in big games, but we'll see with him there. I just wrote down, I mean, Morgan Frost, the big trade there with Philly last year. I think, again, repetitive on this one, new places, new faces, new places type of concept there. I just think, like, I said, like, if you just find the right chemistry with certain players, they tend to just, they fit, right? So I just like that addition there with Frost. I think there's a good chance for him to fill a good void there in that top six. Kevin Ball, just proven over the last couple of years that he can handle the minutes. I think he was in New Jersey last season. As you getting a chance there to play in top 4 minutes, presumably with Calgary. And then, of course, their big addition, Dustin Wolf. I mean, I think they've hit on a superstar goalie. I believe he was a late draft pick. I'd have to double check on that one. Pardon me. But just they've obviously hit on him. I believe they signed him a 10-year deal, a 7-year deal, excuse me, at a 7 or some odd $1 million, I believe, cap hit. So that technically comes into play next season after his $850K rookie deal will expire. So, again, just a really, really solid lockup by them. 7th round pick. Yeah. 214th overall. So, a lot of teams had a chance to get him as well. So hopefully for Calgary's perspective, that's a hit, because that would really, really expedite that rebuild there. Just with the whole kerfuffle with Markstrom and just over the years, their defensive play and just, the Oilers broke us type of attitude, I think, is slowly starting to go away. And from an Oilers perspective, I'd love for the Battle of Alberta to reflame, no pun intended. So hopefully for the best on that one there. But I just think it's going to be a tough year in Calgary. I really don't envision them taking many steps forward. I think they're just going to kind of be a floating bottom 10, bottom 15 type of hockey team, unfortunately. Moving on to let's do Vancouver here. This is a really weird one to look at. Like, for me, on paper, this team should be damn good. They should be a playoff team. They really should. Will they get the production from their top guys? Will Elias Pettersson regain his form? I mean, that guy was just was just a version of himself last year that we just hadn't seen. He just was a ghost out there. I think now that the whole JT Miller thing's out the way, I think now that you've got guys like Evander Kane that can come in and still hold him accountable and give him a little bit of help in the top six. Besser's re-signed. Biggest question mark for me still lies in goal. And just if they can stay healthy. I do think Demko's a fantastic goalie. He really is. And I think he could be a top 5 Vezina candidate. I really do. It's just a matter of if he can stay healthy. Quinn Hughes is obviously an elite, maybe the best defenseman in the league, 1A, 1B, top 3. So that's not going to change. I think they got a lot of positivity going there. Added Evander Kane, like I said, a lot of experience in playoffs. Does bring a very different element to the game, a lot of physicality. Hopefully he gets back to his goal scoring ways. I think the Oilers needed to move on from that contract to be able to make things work financially, and then possibly just get a different look, to be honest with you. They did lose Pui Suter. I do think that was an interesting one, letting him go. I don't think that for what it would have costed them, I found like he was a good fit there for the time that he spent coming over, I believe, from Chicago. When he did come over, I think he just kind of felt like he fit in there. It looked like he did. So, I'm interested to see if that is a detrimental loss or not, or if that's an easy void to fill that depth role there. So, Pui Suter, in my opinion, was just a little bit of a step back for that role that they filled there. But there's a couple rookies in that lineup that I'm thinking they're hoping are going to be able to take that step forward and really, impact the team right away on good deals. I know there's that Arshdeep Baines kid, I think is one to watch there. He's on 2 more years there. Just a big lefty shot there. That's played well in the preseason. I think he earned his shot there. So jumping in, last one here, Winnipeg. This is a good one too. I mean, what a weird team Winnipeg is. All the talent in the world, got all your big pillars filled, and just can't seem to figure it out. Of course, when you have your Scheifele's, you have Hellebuck, who had an amazing regular season last year, and of course, couldn't get it together in the playoffs. We'll see with that. Gustav Nyquist, Tanner Pearson, Cole Koepka, those are additions this year. Again, bottom 6, depth. We need to compete with the big boys when it comes to playoff time. We need to be able to score. We need to be able to skate. We need guys we can trust out there. I think just adding those style of players or go a long way. Having said that, you lose a big contributor in, I think their forward group was a big shakeup this season, but you lose a big guy, big contributor in Nikolai Ehlers going over to Carolina. You simply weren't matching that price tag for him. I think you got 7. You weren't doing that. I know you have Kyle Connor coming up. Obviously, Morrissey as well, I believe, is due for a contract shortly. Let me double check on Morrissey. Okay, so pardon me, 2 more years after this season. I thought he was this year and next year. So he does have 2 more after, but you got a lot of money tied up. I mean, 7 in Pionk, 6 and a quarter in Morrissey, 5 and 3/4 in Sandberg, obviously 8.5 with Hellebuck. I mean, you're really starting to get close with those numbers there. UFA for Connor next year, and he might be asking $15 million, to be honest, next year if he has a really good season. So you just never know with that one there. And then, of course, Jonathan Toews coming into play. I mean, that's a big one there for the locker room. He's a great guy to have around for the experience to draw on that. Very similar to the Gabriel Landeskog situation between Toews and Landeskog. I just don't know what to expect. We generally only remember these players from their glory days when they're winning cups and when they're fantastic hockey players in the league, but just keystone pieces. Jonathan Toews with a center stone piece alongside Patty Kane and, arguably Duncan Keith, Seabrook, Crawford. Fuck, that team was disgusting. Sharp, Bufflin, holy, Andrew Ladd. That team, oh my God, man, that team was so good. Hey, guys, I digress. Jonathan Toews, fantastic player. I hope he has a great year. Are we expecting much? Maybe anything? Probably not. But hey, you know what? I'd like to see him get some games played, much similar to Landeskog having his success last year early on. Just so proud of those guys for being able to push through what they did. When you're basically, dealing with medical conditions or injuries as a whole, great respect to those guys that push through that and battle through that. And at the ripe old age of 37 years old, I think Toews is really on one of his last chances here to really win another cup and add to his already Hall of Fame career. But hopefully a true legacy in Hockey Canada's perspective from what we have. So quick recap there. Looking ahead into this season, I know it's a super, super quick run through, but I do want to get into a few, stories to touch base on and touch base on some hot takes here before we get into the season, and then touch base on some award winners. So going into this season, as I said, Connor McDavid was the big one. We've cleared that one out, but I mean, we talked about too, the Mitch Marner effect into Vegas here. What's Toronto going to be like? How does it affect Matthews? Will Matthews score less goals? Will Nyes be able to come in and add that? I think we just need to sort of forget that, the Leafs are going to have to adapt. And I think that they understand where they're at as a team. I think they needed change. Would they have liked to get more for Marner? I don't think that is even needed to say. Of course. I mean, the fact that they even were able to get Nicholas Waugh is incredible in its own right, because truthfully, there could have been teams out there that maybe didn't want to give it up nearly as much. As we know, Vegas Golden Knights are as aggressive as a team possibly could ever be for franchise purposes. So the fact that they were the ones to go after Marner doesn't surprise me much. And the fact that they gave up a guy like Nick Waugh was almost, in my opinion, personally, I just think you wouldn't have been able to really keep those guys. But without the whole collusion idea there. I think that was the we'll trade you him, but we need to get that number locked in there. There's something about that whole situation that just kind of makes me a little bit bitter. Just mainly because I think the Leafs kind of got away, or Vegas kind of got away with one with the way that they approached it all. I think Toronto is lucky enough to pull that one out. But I touch base on Landeskog and Taves again. Quick notes. Best of fucking luck to those guys. Honestly, best of luck to those two guys. Tremendous players. Huge respect for both of them. Warriors on the ice. Best of luck to both of you. Next one here I wrote down was Olympic roster. So the first month is going to be crucial. I talked base on Nick Suzuki as a key guy to look forward to. There's probably 5 or 6 players per country in the NHL here that these kids, man, I'm telling you, if you get a really hot start to the month, and then maybe from a veteran's perspective, you're like, kind of low and slow into this season. Don't be surprised if Hockey Canada decides to say, you know what, we need to win. And sometimes we need to forget that some of the auras and the name itself of these players often takes over the people's mind that are making these teams, and sometimes it can affect it. And I just think when it comes to Olympics, especially because you're leaving your NHL team, you're going over and you're playing in the Olympics. It's such a quick span. I always am a huge advocate of what have you done for me lately when it comes to these types of events. Don't be surprised if there's a few shockers on this team simply because they started the season hot, or they just took advantage of a hot streak or the chance, if you will, for getting an invite to these camps, if you will. But just I'm curious to see over the next few months. Basically, leave it there. I would like to talk about it in the next couple of months, just as we progress toward it, if there's players trending up or down in that sense. And we can also revisit, I believe we went back quite a little while ago to look at our original Olympic roster, and we'll recap just to see what we get off those picks, see if who we're taking off, who we're putting on, who we're watching. We'll see. But that's a big one as well too. Another note that I had around here was just what's going to happen with Bedard. I just wanted to touch base super quickly on that one there. Do we think he takes a step forward? Do we think that he's able to do that without the additional help, without the goal scoring, without the playmaking, without the, just the team behind him? Didn't do much to impress me last season as a whole. I'm a little bit harder on it because when you have such high expectation and you've seen what other players have done and can do, my opinion is just one of those things where you're like, okay, well, if you need to come in and make changes to your game, then do it. But please don't just continuously try the same things over and over and expect it to work, because it ain't going to work in the NHL. You can get through those kids in junior and maybe in the AHL, which we know, I don't think he's actually even played games in the A. It just doesn't work with men and grown men in the NHL. It's too fast, too strong. And quite honestly, I just don't think there's as drastic of a skill gap between star players and elite star players like Connor Bedard in this particular sense to be able to carry himself over. Let me re-say that just to kind of make sure that I'm not misunderstood on that one. Star players such as Connor Bedard can only do so much by themselves before their play is limited, before their production's limited, before their confidence is limited, because they just don't have anybody else around them. Do I think Connor Bedard is a bust? No. He's incredibly talented. He's ridiculously talented. He can shoot the puck on angles some players could never dream of. His hands are so ridiculous. He's got 5 eyes on his head because he can see every different direction out there. He's an elite playmaker. I am not saying he is not. What I am saying, though, is you can have all the talent in the world, and it don't mean shit if you don't have anyone around you, or you don't change your ways to be able to do something different and create chances for yourself. I hate to break it to you, but he's not 6 feet, 200 pounds, going into the corner, slamming bodies, going in front of the net like Joe Pavelski used to do and tip pucks to score 40 goals a year and say, you know what, if I got to be productive, I got to work my ass off and go into places I don't want to go. We haven't seen that in the first 2 years. I don't think we're going to see that in year 3. So who's going to do that job for him and also help them? There's no one there right now. So we're basically, in my opinion, going to be going into the year. This is year 3. You're going to basically be at the end of year 3, in my opinion, and you're not going to see a single bit of regression or progression from Bedard. I just don't think you're going to. My opinion. I'm being super harsh on the kid. So that leads me directly into my 5 bold takes of this year's NHL season. 5 bold takes for the 2025-26 NHL season. And I will lead off with the one I just went into, but we are going with starting with a hot, spicy one. Connor Bedard fails to set a new career high in points or to match his career of 67 points last season. I don't think Connor Bedard gets to the 67-point mark. I don't. I really don't. And for reasons, as I just said, not enough around him. I don't think he's willing to change to get to the dirty areas and be effective in those dirty areas. And quite honestly, I just don't think that skill alone can make you a 30, 40 goal scorer in today's day and age. I just don't think with the way that it's so fast, it's so skilled, sure, but I just don't think you've got the time that you need to be able to do what he does to be there. So I'm not saying that he can't, but I just don't think he's getting to that point. Number 2, let's go here. Steven Stamkos is a one and done in Nashville and is traded at this year's deadline to a contender team. The fact that Stamkos even had to leave Tampa Bay is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Brisebois and the Tampa Bay Lightning, you guys are absolutely filthy, disgusting maggots for doing that to him. That guy should have been a Tampa Bay Lightning for life. And if he wasn't, it shouldn't have been in the disrespectful way that you said to him, we ain't paying you shit, basically, and letting him walk. Cool off for a moment. Let me finish Steven Stamkos here. He's still a great player. I think he scored 40 goals in his last season with Tampa. He went into Nashville, he signed his money, and he got paid. Kudos to him. You got his final paycheck. Not likely is he going to be able to get another 4-year, possibly high, big money value. It's likely some one years. I don't think that he has lost it. I think he can still score with the best of them. But I just think last year watching them, he was so out of tune, man. Like, he just didn't give a shit by halfway season because they knew they were toast. That was the first year since probably his rookie year that he basically was like, we ain't making playoffs, and I know that before Christmas. Well, Merry fucking Christmas. Thanks for all the cash that I got, but obviously I want to be a winning team, and I want to play, and I want to be effective for that team. Steven Stamkos, one and done in Nashville. Trade deadline. Be careful who adds them because that could be a real sneaky pick. And don't forget, the Edmonton Oilers just opened up quite a bit of cap space with Connor McDavid being able to do so. Just saying that Steven Stamkos could very well be a pretty good addition to that team if you wanted to add him. I'm just saying. But we'll see. I digress. Point number 5, bold take number 3. The Florida Panthers run comes within 2 points of ending as they squeeze into the final wild card spot in the East. You thought I was going to say the Panthers are missing the playoffs. I just think they're good enough to just make playoffs work. They're a good enough team. They can last without Barkov. They can last the first couple months without Kachuk. I think the chemistry's still there. They've won back-to-back. I think they're just too good to miss the playoffs again because they're certainly cup contenders again. But I think they go through stretches that they're just not used to. Maybe they're a little bit tired. Maybe they just lose their lose that motivation, lose that concentration, and they have a tough stretch. I think they are a wild card position this year. Bold take number 4. Utah Mammoth have 2 players in the top 15 in scoring and both exceed 90 points. Clayton Keller and Logan Cooley. I think that Utah is one of the more underappreciated offenses in the league. I think they're very undervalued. The way that they have, solidified their top six and drafted, they draft extremely well, man. That's one thing that you got to give kudos for. We know that it was tough in Arizona and tough into Utah, if you will, over the last little while. But boy, man, like those picks have all been hitting lately. Like I said, Clayton Keller was obviously the first one, I believe, there. They had Cooley come into the system. They drafted Dylan Gunther as well. Huge pickup this season, getting JJ Paterka from Buffalo with, in my opinion, an absolute steal. I think Paterka could very well be an easy 30 goal scorer in this top six. They will produce a lot of points, a lot of goals, excuse me. I could see that. I could see Utah finishing easily top 10 goals for this year. I love their top six. They added a lot of good defensive help over the years. Don't forget Sergachev had a full season, a full off season to to heal up, to train, to get better, to get healthy. He's going to want to come back with a chip on his shoulder. He's the number one D man there again. He was the number one in Tampa as well when Hedman had his thing and kind of the whole Hedman, Sergachev, and McDonough thing. I think he's ready to lead a team again too. And if he looks healthy, that could be great. Sean Dursey's there too. Like I said, he was a great pickup for them. Puck moving defensive, right shot. John Marino, right shot. A lot of guys that are just in that prime, that's just ready to go. I think that's huge for them. So the way that they've drafted their forward group specifically, and then pieced together that back end is just a fantastic job. Questions in goaltending, maybe. Kirill Vejmelka, I think, had a pretty solid year. Vanacek is a backup. I don't think you're hurting yourself in that particular sense by having those two guys there. I really don't. Player friendly deals across the board for all of them, and I think they've even got a little bit of cap space this season if they want to be trade deadline buyers. So we will see on that one there. And last but not least, number 5, bold take number 5, Matvei Michkov scores 40 plus goals. This kid, in my opinion, is really underappreciated right now because of all of the skill in the young players that are coming in. Celebrini, Hudson, Will Smith. Obviously, Bedard's still there if you want to count as a super young kids. Demidov now coming in this season too. We get lost and forget that Matvei Michkov was the number 5 overall pick to Philly. Very well could have went probably 1 or 2. I don't know if he would have went 1, but 2, in my opinion, mainly because people didn't know if he was going to come over from Russia. They thought he was going to stay in the KHL. Well, little did we know, Michkov comes over, connects and hits it right away in Philly, comes on under Tortorella, which, in my opinion, is a tremendous first coach to have, even if I know he's gone now and you have Rick Tocchet. I mean, you go from Tortorella to Tocchet, like, you're going to be a hardworking player. I mean, if you're not, you're not going to be there. But I think that's just just the way that you can see Michkov's work ethic. He loves scoring goals. Must be in the Russian standard that goes around that country. Loves scoring goals. Piss and vinegar on his veins too. I love seeing that kid get into scrums last year, pushing defense around, getting into their faces, not giving a shit. I like that. You want a guy that's willing to get into the dirty areas, go into the fire and flame, and come out on the other side and just, be one of those guys that continuously shows up, but can produce at the same time. I think you add Zegras now. You add a little bit more skill to that top 6. I think that, you already had quite a few players in that top 6 that could really produce. They had a lot of speed already too, which is great. Speed is a huge factor here. But like I said, I mean, you got Tippett to carry the play of the pace. You have Travis Konechny, who's also another just a warrior style hockey player. Sean Couturier, warrior style hockey player. I think they've got a good chance to compete for a middle to 8 seed kind of wild card position this year if everything works out. It would take an awful lot to have that happen, and I'm not saying Philly's necessarily going to be jumping into playoff contention, but I think they have a lot of young pieces in line that if the stars align, you could be in line to see a team take a drastic step forward. I really do believe so. Like what Ottawa and Montreal did last year, Philly could be that team this year. So if they get in, who gets out, right? I know we saw Boston drop out this year, or last season, I guess. So there's always going to be someone out if someone new comes in. So that's just an interesting say there. So I got Michkov scoring 40 plus this season. Let's wrap this one up. Award winnings, award predictions, if you will, for lack of better terms here. So this is a very quick and easy one. This is a just for fun game. You know, we like to play a couple games here, like to go back and look at how we did across the board when we did make our suggestions, predictions here. We'll recap that in episode 47 with how we did from the previous season here. But I will go through this one here and just kind of give my particular predictions here. We will post one as well too with others, just to stay across the board with what N6 is thinking here. But for my Art Ross, I got Nathan McKinnon. I love their top six. I love that he's got Landeskog back. He's got a healthy Valerie Nichushkin back. You got Brock Nelson, who's comfortable in that top six here now too. I know you lost Rannon, and that is a very big loss. I do think, though, however, Nate McKinnon's going to do Nate McKinnon things. Cale Makar is going to do Cale Makar things. They have such a unique skill set and such a dynamic pace of plays. It's just, I just don't see McKinnon taking any steps back. I feel like last year he probably assumes that it was not a successful season. They got beat out pretty handily in the playoffs, and I just don't think that they were comfortable with that. I think this is a brand new reset, restart. Nate wants that second cup, and I think he's going to push hard to take his team to try and win that President's Trophy this season. Rocket Richard got Connor McDavid. This is a really weird one for me, but something about me just screams take McDavid here. When McDavid comes out and says he wants to do something, he has done it. Wants to go number one overall? No problem. Wants to win Calder? Would have won. Got fucked over by that shoulder injury. Forget it. But let's just look ahead here now. A couple seasons ago, Connor McDavid wanted to be a better passer. Oh, I think I'd really love to pass more. I'd love to get 100 assists. Never been done before. Well, never been done. Only been done, I think, of 3 some odd people in the history of the game. Goes out and does that. No problem at all. Well, this season, he comes out and says, I need to shoot the puck more and I want to score 50 again. I love scoring goals. It's more fun than passing. Well, what do you think he's going to go do? The best player in the game gets 15 looks a game at shooting the puck. Even if his shot percentage regresses a little bit because he's shooting more, where he takes his shot from is usually a higher percentage shot than most any in the league. He can produce those breakaways. He gets those chances more than anybody else, really. And I just think because you have such a dynamic offense, incredibly strong power play, you give this guy a better look and shoot more. Who's to say he can't score 50? Who's to say he can't get 60? Right? I just think he's such a dynamic player. The Norris, I got to go back to Cale Makar on this one. I think points just matter too much for offensive defensemen for Vezina Trophy winning. I still think that I'd love to see a defensive trophy winner, truthfully. But I do think Cale Makar takes this one. I do think with Nate McKinnon having a bounce back year, Makar should have another strong year, no doubt about it. I think there's only 2 or 3 guys, in my opinion, that can really win this award. I did want to give a special shout out to a guy, Jacob Slavin. I think should be the Vezina Trophy winner just about every single year. If you watch Jacob Slavin play for the Carolina Hurricanes, please just do yourself a favor and don't let your eyes go anywhere off of him for a few shifts at least, and just watch all of the simple, small things that he does effortlessly that make Carolina such a better team. He makes everybody else on the ice so much better. He gives confidence to the goaltender because they know where he's going to be. He clears lanes. He gives everybody just such a confidence out on the ice because they know that he can be relied on. Jacob Slavin, my underdog pick for the Norris, but I got to think Cale Makar takes it. Vezina, I think don't want to go too far away with this one here. We've gotten away from this guy for the last couple of years, and he was a dominant force for God knows how long. Went into last season with a back injury. I think this year they're going to be able to get him healthy again. I think they have a strong team. I think they're being underlooked, and I think he's going to play a lot of games as he normally does. Andrei Vasilevsky, my Vezina Trophy candidate. This year's Calder, It's a very tough one. Of course, most people have Demidov. Why wouldn't you? He looked tremendous when he came in with Montreal last year. I really do think he's going to have a strong case this season. And there's a couple guys, truthfully, that I feel like could win. But I'm going off the board. I'm not going Demidov for 1 or 2 in Calder voting. My Calder winner this year from the Washington Capitals, Ryan Leonard. This kid is a stud. He's a workhorse. Right shot centerman. Absolutely rips the puck. Really strong. And in my opinion, just a kid that looks like he gets it. Kid that looks like he just wants to win, can handle the pressure, can handle being the number one guy. I like this kid a lot. He was such a stud for USA. So dangerous every time he touches the puck. And a sneaky, underrated Calder Trophy winner here. Edmonton Oilers traded for Matt Savoy 2 seasons ago when they got Ryan McLeod. It was a little bit of a confusing deal. And people were kind of confused from both ends. I think Buffalo Sabres fans were kind of saying, we drafted this guy, I think 9th overall. Like, why are we giving up on him this early? And then, of course, from Edmonton's perspective, you had a young player, centerman in his prime that could have possibly turned into your, 3C, but hoping 2C down the road. I don't know if he ever would have been, but just a solidified player, incredible speed in McLeod. Point being, Matt Savoy is coming in and arguably going to get a chance to play in the top 6, hopefully the entire season. Looked very good in his 2 or 3 game stint that he did have a chance with the Oilers last season because of injury. And in that there, looked incredibly impressive playing alongside Leon Draisaitl. He's a workhorse. This kid is super fast, plays incredibly confident with the puck. He has incredible skill set with the puck. First and foremost, his playmaking ability is in my opinion, NHL ready, if not elite already, and maybe not elite, but just above average. So that just could be something to look at. So Calder Trophy, Ryan Leonard with an underdog shot at Matthew Savoy. That's going to wrap it up today, folks. We are so back. Hockey is so back. I'm glad that I was able to get this one out before the season started. Now that we are back, we want to try and push at least once a week as we were. Just get a lot of information out there and just have a lot of fun with this season. We got a few really cool pieces of content coming up for the podcast for a lot of cool games, a lot of pieces there. But as per usual, thank you always for listening. Please smash that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. Please, if you can, go on all the platforms that we are subscribed to. YouTube, we have Instagram, anything else like that you want to follow us there. Any questions or anything like that you'd like for us to touch base on, we'd always love for you to do that there. Until next time, it's been another edition of Soft Dump in the Corner podcast presented by North 6 Sports. Thank you again. NHL's back, baby.